In terms of the purpose of this study, this was really an opportunity to go out and understand in a reliable way the level of awareness of LBCC in the community, what are the perceptions of the college in the community, as well as how they view your performance overall and as a variety of specific areas, and in particular, how all of that varies among subgroups of residents in your community, both within your district as well as in some outlying areas that could be potential markets for the college. That information can help not only inform the communications plan, it also establishes very good benchmarks from which to measure the impacts of your future communication efforts on community awareness and opinions as they relate to the college. Methodology, this was a telephone-based survey conducted in November of this year. We spoke with 1,200 adults, selected using what's known as stratified and clustered random sampling. That sample was divided, 800 of those interviews were focused within adults who reside within the district, and we also oversampled 400 adults from communities outside of the district, but that are nevertheless underserved currently and are from high school attendance areas that are good feeder districts potentially for the community college. Now, because this was a random sample of 1,200 and it wasn't a census of all eligible adults in the study area, it has what's known as a margin of error due to sampling, and that in this case is plus or minus 2.8%. What that means is we can be 95% confident that the results we'll talk about today are within 2.8% of what we would have found had we spoken with all eligible adults in the study area. Okay, on to the results. One of the first questions we asked in the survey is, when you think of community colleges and universities in your area, what specific names come to mind? We didn't provide the list of universities or colleges that you see there on the slide. We simply asked the question and we're quiet. They had to tell us top of mind without any prompting what colleges and universities came to mind. And as you can see on this slide, 61% of the individuals we asked named Long Beach City College off the top of their head. That's called unaided recall. We didn't prompt them. They were able to come up with that on their own. Followed by Long Beach State at 31%, UCLA 26%, USC 19.5%. I can tell you that that is phenomenally high for unaided recall for a community college in an area. We've done this for some other colleges as well as universities, and that is among the highest that we've seen. Now, for people who didn't say Long Beach City College right off the bat when we asked that question, we went on and said, okay, specifically community colleges, what colleges come to mind? And then if they still didn't say Long Beach Community College, we went on to ask if they had heard of LBCC. The results you see here, you had 61% who were able to mention Long Beach City College in that first question. When we asked specifically about community colleges, another 12% mentioned LBCC. And then when we asked specifically, had you heard of LBCC before, for those who didn't mention it in the unaided questions, you had another 21% who said yes. That if you add up those slices of the pie, you have 96% of the adult residents that we spoke to as part of this survey saying that they were aware of Long Beach City College prior to taking the survey. Again, phenomenally high levels of awareness overall. Now at this point, we also transitioned to some questions, now that we measured awareness, to understand opinions of LBCC. And one of those questions was, in general, would you say you have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of Long Beach City College? Do you have no opinion either way? Two things stand out from this pie. The first thing that stands out is that just because somebody is aware of LBCC, it does not necessarily mean they have an opinion of the college. In fact, 36% of individuals, although they had heard of LBCC, didn't know enough about the college to be able to venture an opinion one way or the other. The other thing that stands out is among those people with an opinion, it's overwhelmingly favorable. You had 60% of individuals say that they had a favorable opinion of LBCC. You had just 3% who said they have an unfavorable opinion. That's about a 20-to-1 ratio of favorable to unfavorable. Now, wanting to get a sense for how people perceive LBCC in a variety of areas, so we asked, one of the questions we asked was, what positive descriptions come to mind when you think of Long Beach City College? You had about 26% of folks who said nothing comes to mind. It sort of jives with that earlier question we showed where, although they were aware of the community college, they didn't have an opinion one way or the other. But what that does mean is 74% of the people we spoke with could respond with something that comes to mind about Long Beach City College. And the top answers there were affordability, that it's a good value for the cost. That was about 13% of people mentioned that. Yet 11% mentioned the convenient location, the accessibility of campus. A general positive comment, about 11%. Good quality of education, 10%. Nice, clean campus and surroundings, 10%. So this gives you an understanding of when you ask people, what do you think about when you think of Long Beach City College? These are the responses that came back. Now, having asked that in an open-ended manner, we went on to provide them with each of the performance dimensions you see on the left side of the slide, and we asked for each one, how would they say that Long Beach City College does in performing in each one of these areas? Would you say they do an excellent, good, fair, poor, or very poor job? To allow for reliable comparisons across dimensions, this is just among those who provided an opinion, and what you find is that across the board, you have pretty high marks, right? You have 70 at the very bottom of the scale. You had 71% of those with an opinion say that the Long Beach City College positively impacts the economy and workforce and through providing business assistance programs, on up to 81% at the top of that list who agreed that Long Beach City College does an excellent or good job preparing students to transfer to a four-year university. So the areas in which you're performing the best are in preparing, from the public's perspective, in preparing students to transfer to a four-year university, being a good educational value for the money, and having modern facilities, labs, and classroom technology, as well as providing a challenging, high-quality education. This slide is really kind of the litmus test when we do these types of studies, and it's the answer to the question, would you recommend Long Beach City College to a friend or relative who was planning to go to college? So given all the other alternatives that are available, would you recommend LBCC? 83% of those individuals we spoke to in the survey said they would. That is a very high recommendation rate, among the highest that I have seen. What's also interesting is, and you see this in the report, when you break this down across subgroups of residents, what you find is that it's also a very widespread and wide-held opinion. Every single subgroup we looked at least 2/3 of the individuals say that they would recommend LBCC to a friend or relative. So what does all this mean? I go into a lot more detail in the full report. Let me just suffice to say that we found that awareness that I mentioned of LBCC is exceptionally high, especially among those individuals who reside within the district, but awareness does not necessarily translate into having an opinion of LBCC. Nevertheless, among those with an opinion, they are overwhelmingly favorable. And so really the central communications challenge moving forward isn't so much about raising awareness as LBCC, it's bridging that gap between being aware of the college and then translating that into positive opinions and understanding of the college in the future. So that is the end of my quick presentation on the survey results. I welcome questions if there are any, or otherwise we can hand off to the next consultant. Okay.
We can take questions after we wrap up here. But next I would like to call up Scott Summerfield of SAE Communications to discuss the results of the focus groups and internal surveys. Scott?
Thank you, trustees. President Oakley. There was a lot of passion that came out in the research that we did for this plan, and that's a good thing. I think we'd much rather see passion on the part of administration, on the part of faculty, staff, and students, rather than apathy, because that passion told us that a variety of audiences wanted to know more, wanted the community to know more, and wanted their friends and family to know more about what this college offers. One of the interesting phenomena that we saw in the one-on-one interviews as well as the focus groups is the bar for understanding how new technology and new best practices has been set very high as we've become a more mobile society. We don't stay in our jobs for 30 years anymore. We move around. Administrators perhaps have been in positions at different college districts. Faculty perhaps teaches at a number of different institutions. Students often will go where they can get classes that satisfy their need and their schedule. Because of that, all of these different audiences see what other institutions are doing. They see how new technology is being used. They see what it takes to register for classes at different colleges. They see what different homepages look like. All of these things combine to kind of create public opinion about the college. And that worked its way throughout each of the different tools that we use to assess opinion in a very qualitative way as part of this process. The one-on-one interviews showed a number of things. We've got about 12 pages in the plan, so I'm not going to go into any great detail. One of the things that did come up consistently through each of the tools, though, was some frustration over the college website. I know there's been some ground covered on that and some forward movement. Some of that came out of an awareness of what other colleges are doing, how information is presented, but probably the thing that captured us most compellingly was a very consistent desire on the part of faculty, staff, and students for people stories, showing student success, showing some of the unique things that faculty and staff are doing to help students succeed. And that can manifest itself in a number of ways, through what appears on the college homepage, throughout the website, any mobile apps that are developed to help students register for classes more easily, video that's produced to tell the college's story. One of the byproducts of the attention span deficit that many of us have, and just kind of where we're going as a society, is a much stronger reliance on video and graphics and photos to tell our story. For a number of reasons, folks just don't read, in many cases, to the level that they used to. We can't tell our story in 500 or 600 or 700 words. We need to do that through a 2 or 3 minute video. So we've captured that in a number of places through the research that we did as part of this plan. The focus groups, probably out of all the communications tools, exhibited that level of passion most clearly. I want to just call out one of them because you as trustees and senior administrators ought to be really proud of your students. The lure of free pizza was part of the reason we got an overflow crowd in the student focus group, but it became much more than that. We had literally bodies spilling out into the hallway. Students came perhaps to get a bite to eat and something to drink, but then they shared what they felt about this college. Frustrations, but most importantly, and this was really cool, they had suggestions and wishes for improvement that they articulated very clearly. To a person, they were brutally honest, yet respectful and extremely helpful. And that told us a lot. That passion channeled itself in a way that allowed us to include several items in the plan itself reflecting the needs and desires of these students. It's also important to note in that focus group, these weren't all ASB leaders. They were folks from throughout your campus community. A really broad range of backgrounds, interests, but all of which that participated, I think, shared a common desire to access some of these new communications tools that their friends perhaps have seen as they've registered for classes and have matriculated through other colleges, and they want to see that here. They want to see their success stories told on the homepage, and we just walked out of that with a really good feeling, so we wanted to share that with you. The research results show a lot of interest in a variety of areas. Visibility of senior administration, the telling of those student success stories, the just general sort of hunger for whatever resources the college can put at technology to help students register, get up-to-date scheduling information, all of these various technological advances that they're seeing in other places. So we've included some methodology in there. We touched on a number of different areas. There are a lot of different audiences that we talked with as part of this process. A couple that come to mind are the Cambodian community and the Hispanic community that had very impassioned, very compelling data for us to use as we put this plan together about some of the challenges members of their community face in motivating students to attend college, to look at education as a plus rather than perhaps a safety issue as it is in some other countries. And that told us a lot about where we needed to focus some of the resources as this plan moved forward. We just want to thank everybody that participated in this process, from the 40 individuals that we talked with, roughly 40 in the one-on-ones, the 4 focus groups, the internal survey, which I think the one compelling number out of the internal survey was the vast majority of your faculty and staff consider this a very good place to work, and that's a good place to start. Yes, there are challenges, there are things that were brought up in terms of things that could change and desires on the part of those that participated, but when you see a number like that, that is a very tangible statistic, it tells us that with a little bit of strategy and a very thoughtful process moving over the next 3 to 5 years, you can make, I think, a lot of headway in addressing the issues that came up as part of this plan. So again, kudos to everybody that participated in these research tools.
All right, well, thank you so much, Scott. And as you heard, this was great research that provided a really solid foundation for moving forward with our assessments and recommendations. So I'm going to just spend, real quickly, I'll go through kind of how this research was used to inform the plan. So some of the key plan components. We had everything from goals, tactics, strategies, to top priorities. So what you'll see in this plan is recommendations on what we can do and why we should do it, but not necessarily how. The how will be developed during the implementation phase, and in some cases, the plan calls for further development of things like a crisis communications plan or a community relations plan. So I wanted to give you some examples of the types of goals that are in the plan. Things like increasing a sense of pride in Long Beach City College and a sense of ownership. As Tim said, what we saw in the community was a high level of recognition and general support for what we do, but it didn't necessarily translate into having a positive opinion. So a key goal is to move residents into that positive category. The plan calls for providing communication services college-wide in a way that helps maintain a consistent message and brand and serve to support the departments and the functions of the college. We want to assist them in achieving their goals and the goals of the college as a whole. We want to increase our marketing efforts, and not just so students enroll, but they are excited to enroll because we've communicated the value and quality of our programs. The plan calls for more engagement with the news media to tell the college's story, being more proactive in the way that we're reaching out. Internally, we want to enhance the flow of communication between college constituent groups, and the plan identifies a lot of steps to help us get there. LBCC is already widely seen as a leader among two-year colleges, and one of the goals is to increase that recognition and elevate the college's reputation even further. And as all public agencies should be engaged in, we want to explore additional ways to increase transparency in the decision-making process. Again, these are just a few examples of the type of goals that you'll see in the plan. And then we get into dozens of tactics, and I'll just share a few examples of those before we wrap up. As Scott said, one theme that emerged so strongly in the research was desire to see more students and faculty success stories. So that's been done in the past here, but we really want to make that a priority, really elevate that as a key tactic for this plan. All groups pointed the need to redo the Long Beach City College website. This is our digital front door. We need to have the functionality to serve our students and an updated look that will make a good first impression on prospective students who want to come here. It needs to be that go-to source of information. We're building key messages into every project or issue so that our public response is more consistent and clear. Communications and message training for key staff and faculty members to help deliver those messages more effectively. We'll be looking at ways of increasing our engagement with students and other audiences through social media channels. We also saw in the research, Scott pointed this out, the strong desire for use of videos and photography. We're going to pursue that. Another tactic that's recommended in the plan is to hold targeted neighborhood meetings in various districts of the college to better engage with our community groups and neighborhood organizations. We also want to take a fresh look at our internal communications tools and revamp them in a way that addresses the needs of our internal stakeholders. So where do we start? Well, the research did help us get to some top priorities for the college. The first and foremost, again, student and faculty success stories. So we're going to be putting a focus on telling those. The new website will be done as a partnership between IITS and communications with a committee of multiple college constituencies. We will embark on a consistent branding effort and updating of the style guide. This is not a recommendation to redo the logo. We don't want to touch that. But the use of logo and brand guidelines aren't always consistent among platforms. An example of this is our SBDC program. It's really well recognized in the community, but people don't always know that it's a Long Beach City College program, and that's a branding issue. Another priority will be to enhance our use of electronic media, engage more audiences with social media. Developing targeted and marketing outreach campaigns to address the ongoing, seasonal, and one-time needs of the colleges as they arise. We'll be developing key messages around important issues so our public response is consistent, conducting message training, building a proactive media program, and rolling out a communications request form for the college, so internal departments will have a consistent and organized way to request our services. So what are the next steps? Well, in the past few weeks, I've been introducing this plan to internal groups and will continue to do so over the next several weeks. In the new fiscal year, we'll be implementing the plan based on priorities and budget, providing training and workshops and follow-up reports to the board on our progress. So before I take questions, I would just especially like to thank President Oakley, Vice President Bynum, the VP executive team, the College Planning Committee, the College Communications staff, True North Research, SAE, Interim Director Heather Morrow, and most especially everyone who took these surveys and gave their time to provide this input. Backed by a strong commitment from the college, I think this plan will serve as an excellent roadmap to enhance our communications efforts moving forward. And with that, I'm happy to take any comments or questions.
Members of the board, questions at this time? Questions? Chair recognizes Trustee Zia. I would just, before Trustee Zia, I know in case with John, this started before, and I was mentioning this to Trustee Otto, this started actually, I want to say over a year ago, and in fairness, again, this board, there was a previous board, and there was a lot of issues at that time with communications with the public, how we can do a better job, and so it was really something that we were thinking about probably 2 years ago, because there was a lot of issues going on at the college, and we were just trying to get our arms around how a better way to communicate with not only internally within the college constituency groups, but also to the general community. And so I appreciate we finally are moving forward on doing these things. And but it has been a long time, and I know it's gone back. And so this is something that previous board really addressed and moving forward. And I know this board is also very interested. Chair recognizes Trustee Zia.
Thank you, John. Great job. I wanted to also thank SAE and True North. I know John. I know his work. I believe in him. So faculty and staff, you have nothing to worry about. We're in good hands. John, a couple of questions on page... doesn't have a page number, but I think it's where we're talking about the number of responses being 30%. Why is that so? It seems a little bit low. Is it because did we do outreach to everyone, and what's the?
That was specifically for the internal survey. It went to all faculty and staff. And actually, Scott can kind of speak to this as well, but I think 30% is a pretty good response rate, actually. I don't know if other agencies, how you found that?
Yeah, 30% response rate gives you a pretty good sense of what people are thinking. And the internal survey was not just multiple choice or yes or no questions. There were several opportunities in there for respondents to provide their opinions, turning it into more of a qualitative rather than a quantitative tool. But I think that 30% rate gives you a very accurate sense of what folks are thinking.
Okay, great. And then on the following page, you speak about the community members. Who are those community members?
They were interviewed in the one-on-one interviews?
It's under, one-on-one interviews.
General?
on the one-on-ones. Literally a cross-section of the community. We talked with folks that represented the school district, that represented various communities within Long Beach. A really important audience as part of that was talking with the media, because they have the ability to influence public opinion about the college through just the sheer number of eyeballs that their websites and their printed publications attract. So we really focused in on how are we doing in communicating our programs, our success stories to you so that you can then cover us. We talked with senior administration, we talked with representatives of faculty and staff, we talked to the ASB president, we talked with folks representing the sports program, literally a very wide swath of those stakeholders that are important to the college.
Yeah, I understand that, but it says community members. Like, what specific stakeholders in the community besides media? I mean, how were they selected? Who selected them?
I believe in the back of
Yeah.
in the appendix in the plan, and it'll take me a moment to find it. We actually have all
you'll
of
see
the
that.
Okay, so we're gonna get the plan.
yeah.
Yes, in fact, Jackie has it to distribute at any point in the meeting where it's convenient.
Okay, so I'm assuming this is going to be made public. Okay, great. So
It's
yeah, I
on-
haven't, in the absence of the plan, I won't take time on the specifics on that, but I'd like to see that plan. In the following page, you discuss establishing baseline metrics to measure success of outreach programs. So can you speak a little bit about what kind of metrics are we talking about? Based on enrollment, or is it based on completion, certificates? Is that what we're talking about, or?
Would be more along the lines of public perception of the college. The enrollment goals is something that is set separately by Dr. Long and her staff, as I understand it, based on the state. So what we would do is really think of our goals as trying to match the enrollment goals. So if suddenly we can offer a lot more classes, we ramp up our marketing efforts to try to meet that. There are some objectives that are measurable in the plan that call for things like increasing public opinion, positive comments about Long Beach City College by X amount, and then also, internally, how are we doing to make progress with our internal surveys, and taking a look at some of those questions a year from now and say, hey, have we moved the bar? Have we communicated any better with our internal groups as well as external groups?
Okay, great.
So you'll see those under the objective section of the plan.
Fantastic. And then under True North's report, page 14, the 1,200 adult residents that were stratified, that you used the stratified sampling method. You mentioned there's 800 Long Beach Community District members. What was the spread for each trustee area?
We actually distributed proportionally by zip code within the college district. So we made sure that we had the proper geographic distribution within the district. And then, as I mentioned, outside of the district, we focused in communities, in particular high school attendance areas, for high school districts that are potential feeders for Long Beach Community College District, even though they're outside of the district boundaries. And those were Carson, Bell Gardens, Dominguez, Compton, Paramount, and Belfast.
Okay, so do you have the numbers for the 800?
Yeah, we can certainly provide that. I don't have that offhand.
Okay.
But we make an effort, obviously. One of the whole notion of stratified sampling is that you're breaking your universe down according to criteria that you think are going to be related potentially to the dependent variables of interest in your study. And geography is clearly one of those things. And so we wanted to make sure by stratifying, we're ensuring that we have the proper representation on geography.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with stratified method. I'm a mathematician by
Okay.
trade. So on your page 17, you, as far as the somewhat favorable, what does that mean? What do you mean somewhat favorable versus very favorable? It's a little...
Okay. The way that works is we first ask individuals, do you have a favorable or unfavorable opinion? They then split one way or the other. And then within that, we say we're measuring intensity. Would that be a very favorable opinion or a somewhat favorable opinion, right? So we're allowing them to tell us sort of how intense either their favorable opinion or their unfavorable opinion is.
Can you give an example of what somewhat favorable would entail?
Oh, I think it's different for different people, right? I mean, what you tend to think of is your very favorable people naturally are the people who are particularly pleased or happy with an organization. The people who are somewhat probably they're favorable, but they have some reservations. There's a few things that are keeping them from being at that higher level.
Were those questions asked from those folks that were surveyed? Like, what is it that you're not happy with or is not favorable?
No, we didn't ask a follow-up question about why you have an unfavorable opinion, in part because in this survey, had we done that, only 3% of respondents would have said that, and you can't obviously extrapolate on that small of a sample. We do, however, go later in the survey and we ask individuals about, in addition to the positive impressions of Long Beach City College, we asked, what are some of your negative impressions of Long Beach City College? And things like parking came up, right? Things like crowded classrooms came up. But what's interesting is most people, about 60-something% of folks, didn't come up with a negative impression at all. And so for the most part, when you asked about negative impressions, people said I didn't have it. Among those people who did have a negative impression, those were the topics that tended to